Good morning, everyone. I am super excited to be here, and I'm glad you're all here. Always stop to take a second and make sure your phone is off. It is 2024. As Linda will tell you in a moment, we're very excited and happy to have you all here this morning.
Well, I guess you can tell how excited I am. I wanted to get it started right away. Let's do this right away. Good morning. First of all, I want to share something funny that happened. I have never met Dina before, and we've been talking on the phone. She's our guest speaker today. And so last night I put together what I was going to wear today. And I wasn't sure when I woke up this morning, so maybe I don't want to wear that. It's a little dark and whatever. We get here and we're twins. I mean, talk about one mind that brings it.
I almost wore red.
Yeah,
Something totally
and I was going to
different.
change too. Anyway, let's get back to this. First of all, I'm Linda Logan, and I'm your pastoral associate this morning. And I want to welcome all of you to Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist family. Let's acknowledge that together we share the desert of what was, is, and always will be the home of the Thaw-na-au Thumb and Yawki people. We respect and honor their commitment to this place and that we also call home. We're so happy that you've chosen to attend this morning here in person or at home by Zoom or later watching the recording. Let's all connect to those present here, turning to our cameras and waving to those at home. It brings us. A little more waving. Hello. Hello. We're always grateful to all of these people who come and volunteer to do so many things to assist this ministry. We have, of course, Reverend Matthew, who's away doing his thing at another center, and all of our pastoral associates, Chris Tackett, our director of music, Joel Yelland, who is our song leader and makes wonderful rhubarb desserts for our hospitality. And our welcomers, the audio-visual team, Lee, Alex, Robin, there are different people back there today, but I don't have all the names, Dan Ovid. Tay Safehaven, who's our engagement coordinator, and then also those who are so kind as to teach our children, to allow them to learn a new way of thinking, Stacy Sosa and Grace Yellen. I'm excited about the content of this morning's program, Celebrating the Dark, which will be presented by our guest minister, Reverend Tina Squire. As I read the content of it, it became clear that by the use of everyday, seemingly innocent rhetoric and the emotions that we attach to these words, we affect society and the attitudes that we hold and the treatment of others. We'll get into that more. Today's theme is our invitation to new perspectives and new positive emotional language. When I was a child, I was taught an old saying, "Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me." I know now that that's not true. My parents taught this to their children, hoping to protect us from the hurtful words that they knew would be hurled at us through our lives. I know now that these words would and did cause great and indelible psychological injury. So we're going to learn how to be more careful with our rhetoric, more careful with our words, not knowing that there's always a deeper meaning that goes in and goes into the person that they're directed to. What we'd like to do now is we're going to light our chalice. I've asked Chris to light it for me because I am terrified of that thing. Being very honest with you. We're going to do this by sharing the words of Reverend Joe Von Rue, who is an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister. And I will begin. It says, traditionally, Advent is a time of searching for light in the dark. The pagan tradition of Yule is a celebration of the return of the sun. But darkness is as important as light. The cold dark of winter is as important to life as is the bright warmth of summer. Darkness is home to entire ecosystems, places where humans cannot survive. Darkness offers us the gift of rest, healing, and hope. It is the darkness of sleep that our bodies are able to heal and rejuvenate. Darkness offers opportunities for beauty and love to live in our lives. Conception begins in the dark womb. A great prophet was born at night. And the vastness of the universe can only be seen on the darkest of nights. So on this longest of nights, let us welcome the night. Let us give thanks for the life, rest, healing, hope, love, and beauty that are offered to us only in the darkness. Come, beautiful souls, and let us worship as we embrace the darkness together. Thank you. For everything, there is a season, good times and bad times, planting and reaping, joys and sorrows. We recognize this each week through our ritual of joys and sorrows. The waters, and let me get over to the water. This water is collected from Sonoran skies, our homes and our journeys, and represents our congregation. We drop stones into the water as we share joys and sorrows, reflections of these seasons of our lives. We invite our congregation to respond with celebration and comfort. Just dropping one for joy and one for sorrow. I add a handful of stones for the sorrows unnamed, but still present among us. And another for the joys, as a reminder of the seasons held among us but not spoken aloud. Our pastoral care committee invites you to contact us. We want to hear your joy or your sorrow. With your permission, we will share it on Sundays during our ritual. May we feel the rhythm of these seasons and respond to the need among us. May it be so.
We'd like to invite you to stand as you feel moved and sing with us hymn number 54 in the gray hymnal, if you have one handy. Otherwise, the words will, of course, be on the screen. As we talk about the seasons changing and the turning of the year, beautiful old tune, Sursum Coda, and Now Light is Less.
The skies are wide and deep. The ravages of wind and rain are healed. The haze of harvest drifts along the field, until clear eyes put on the look of sea. The garden spider weaves a silken hair to keep inclement weather from its young. Straight from the oak the gossamer is hung. At dusk our slow breath thickens on the air. Lost news of birds the trees take as their own. Long since bronze wheat was gathered into sheaves, the walker trudges ankle deep in leaves. The feather of the milkweed flutters down. The shoots of spring have mellowed with the year. Buds long unsealed obscure the narrow lane. The blood flows trance-like in the altered vein. Our vernal wisdom moves from ripe to sere.
Our next reading comes from Jackie James, a longtime religious educator who focused on developing multicultural ministries and curricula. Now retired, she's a member of the First Unitarian Society in Newton, Massachusetts, and enjoys spending time with her grandchildren. Sounds like me. Blackmail, blacklist, black mark, Black Monday, Black Mood, Black-Hearted, Black Plague, Black Mass, Black Market. Good guys wear white. Bad guys wear black. We fear black cats and the dark continent. But it's okay to tell a white lie. Lily white hands are coveted. It's great to be pure as the driven snow. Angels and brides wear white. Devil's food cake is chocolate. Angel food cake is white. We shape language and we are shaped by it, and in our culture, white is esteemed. It is heavenly, sunlight, clean, pure, immaculate, innocent, and beautiful. At the same time, black is evil, wicked, gloomy, depressing, angry, sullen. Ascribing negative and positive values to black and white enhances the institutionalization of this culture's racism. Let us acknowledge the negative connotations of whiteness. White things can be soft, vulnerable, pallid, and ashen. Light can be blinding, bleaching, enervating. Conversely, we must acknowledge that darkness has redemptive character, that in darkness there is power and beauty. The dark nurtured and protected us before our birth. Welcome darkness. Don't be afraid of it or deny it. Darkness brings relief from the blinding sun, from scorching heat, from exhausting labor. Night signals permission to rest, to be with our loved ones, to conceive new life, to search our hearts, to remember our dreams. The dark of winter is a time of hibernation. Seeds grow in the dark, fertile earth. The words black and dark don't need to be destroyed or ignored, only balanced and reclaimed in their wholeness. The words white and light don't need to be destroyed or ignored, only balanced and reclaimed in their wholeness. Imagine a world that had only light or dark. We need both, dark and light, light and dark. Next we'll have Sacred Song.
Last Monday, a few of us were down on the east side for a lovely annual Tucson tradition, although it takes place in many other towns and cities across the nation and across the world. We were there for the Messiah Sing-In. The lovely thing each year, a friend of mine is the president of the board, and I've been fishing to conduct it. One of these years, maybe I will. But they performed the Messiah, and the entire audience, as it were, is the choir. So everybody who has ever sung in choir shows up and brings their scores and takes part. And Joel and I were both there, as was Grace and several other people from various choirs and groups I've been involved with over the years. It's wonderful to always see those people. We'd like to bring you a piece from Messiah today, the bass aria, "Darkness, behold, darkness covers the earth, and the people that walked in darkness." I want to take a second and point out a couple of little musical details. Right before this piece, and even through the rest of the first part of it, Handel uses the strings in a very lush way, fancy, fairly thick chords and fairly lush in Handel's terms. And then immediately after this is the great chorus, "For unto us a child is born," talking about the birth of Jesus. But this piece in the middle, "the people that walked in darkness," all of a sudden the strings are all playing one line. And there's not even much in the way of supporting the continuo, the harpsichord that normally plays the chords and fills in. Handel is very clear and careful to mark, just play the line. So beautiful lush chords before, beautiful thick lush choir and chords afterwards from the strings, but right here in the middle, just this lovely, beautiful line from everybody, including the soloist, our own wonderful Joel Yelland.
and grows darkness the people, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. The people that walked in darkness, that walked in darkness. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light, have seen a great light. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. People that walked in darkness, that walked in darkness. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light, have seen a great light, a great light, have seen a great light. And they that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, and they that dwell in the land, that dwell in the land of the shadow of death. Upon them hath the light shined, and they that dwell in the land of the shadow of death.
What a lovely voice. It was beautiful. Thank you. This following meditation, like for you to get quiet and just close your eyes and listen. And it's about traveling in the dark. Go slow, if you can, slower, more slowly still. Friendly, dark, or fearsome, this is no place to break your neck by rushing, by running, by crashing into what you cannot see. Then again, it's true, different darks have different tasks. And if you have arrived here unawares, if you have come in peril or in pain, this might be no place you should dawdle. I do not know what these shadows ask of you, what they might hold that means you good or ill. It is not for me to reckon whether you should linger or you should leave. But this is what I can ask for you. That in the darkness there be a blessing, that in the shadows there be a welcome, that in the night you be encompassed by the love that knows your name. Just let that sink in just a little bit.
I believe it's time for us to sing again. Let's sing number 55 in the gray hymnal, or on the screen, of course. A lovely tune and words by UU's own Shelley Jackson Denham, The Beautiful Dark of Winter. Please rise.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly. And then my soul will hear a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly. And then my soul will sing a voice, a small still voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my soul hears, let your peace flow through me.
I would like to introduce, as you know, this is the time of the year that the ministers exchange pulpits. And so Reverend Matthew is away today, but we have somebody wonderful here who I've just come to know and realize that a lot of you already know her. And we're so happy to see her here, so this is going to be wonderful. So please take the pulpit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Reverend Tina Squire, and I come from, you can hear me, right? Sierra Vista, and I bring greetings from Cochise County. I broke my arm about a month and a half ago, so who knows? I hope I'll find what I'm reading.
For the sake of those at home, let's put this just a little
Closer? Okay.
That'll help quite a bit.
Good. All right. So, quick quiz. How many of you have seen the Milky Way at night? How many of you can see it from where you live now? Aren't you lucky? My first slide is an Episcopal priest named Barbara Brown Taylor. She wrote this book, Learning to Walk in the Dark, in 2014. And in 2014, she gave me the statistic that 2/3 of us living in the United States can no longer see the Milky Way. So today I wanted to talk about dark. I don't think we talk about it enough, and the many different kinds of dark. I may not touch on one you think of, but first I want to say physical dark is important, and we don't celebrate it enough. It is wonderful to see the Milky Way. We don't have light changes here as significant as other places I've lived, but I get to see Mars in the morning without getting up at 4 a.m. because there are darker skies right now. Dark is so important to us as human beings. And as Barbara Brown Taylor says, for any animal whose eyes dilate, dark is important. What happens to sea turtles hatched at night? I helped collect some who went towards streetlights instead of the horizon. Dark is valuable. Physiologically, for human beings, there has been some research on how we sleep. There were times when we had dark for 14 or more hours. We didn't use candles, we didn't have electricity, and people often went to bed. And when they do research on modern humans, at first they sleep 11 hours. Wouldn't you love to do that, to catch up? And then they start to go back to 8 hours, but it's broken up, like many of us sleep, right? They get up, they do things, they go back to bed. But there's a type of state of mind they have found through brain waves that we don't have anymore, that comes to humans who lie and go to sleep and get up and are still for that 14 hours. And Taylor says, well, that's when angels came to show the ladder to Jacob and maybe spoke to Joseph and told him to stay with that girl. Maybe the Bible was actually on to something. People had visions in that state. Who knows? Culturally, we need dark. Taylor says she thinks there's a reason that in the Bible, things happen after 3 days. So Paul is struck blind and wanders blind for 3 days. Jonah is inside the whale or the fish for 3 days. Jesus is in the tomb, how long? Can you guess why? It has to do with the moon. So when we have a new moon, it takes about 3 days for us to see light again. She said, humans, every month practiced resurrection for 3 days, waiting for the light to come back. The summer of 2023, my family gave me a special present on my birthday. They took me to Karchner Caverns, near where I live, and it was an after-dark tour. We got to wear hard hats and headlights, and we walked on a really staid path. There was nothing dangerous about this. But at one point, we sat down inside one of the chambers and turned off all our lights. And I was surprised by at least 2 things. Nobody made a sound. There were 12 of us. I didn't hear any rustling or coughing or fidgeting. It was amazing. I was surrounded by this warm embrace of dark. Also, I expected them to have us turn on our lights and say, you know, it was actually 3 minutes, but it felt like 10, right? But the opposite happened. They had us turn on our lights after 5 minutes, and it felt like 2, maybe 3. I have a really good sense of time, and it was completely gone then. And I think part of that, they explained, is that when you have a horizon, when there's a little bit of light, you get a sense of time. You see the stars move, you know where the sun is. Instinctively, you have a sense of time. But that's what time is, isn't it? It's the movement of the sun. In that cave, there was no time. I'm trying to find a quote by the Reverend Gary Kowalski. Has this beautiful quote. He talks about how one of the beauties of darkness is it gives you an understanding of death, and from that portal, a sense of the eternal, of no time. Well, I jumped into the eternal without having to worry about death, all because I was in the dark. It would not have happened without total dark. And there's a Scottish man who wrote an essay called Fear of the Night. He lives in Western Scotland. He grew up in a small village, and his chore was to take the milk bottles down to the bottom of the driveway. His village had no street lights. He was terrified of the dark. But he couldn't run because he was carrying glass. So he lived, he said, for the moment he could put down the bottles and race back home, up the hill to his house. He says that dark gives us a special quality, which is courage. What really, he says, is no more than the management of fear. And it has to be practiced. So for this, children need a widespread, easily obtained, cheap but renewable source of something scary that isn't really dangerous. Darkness does that. So these are some of the reasons I want us to celebrate actual physical darkness. But then there are other kinds as well, of course. There is being in the dark, or as I like to say, because I want to stop speaking negatively of the dark, being in a fog, being in a time in your life where you don't even know any of the landscape, any of the landmarks. The word for sin in Greek is amartia, means missing the mark. In Hebrew, you repent by turning around and getting back on that path. What if the path is totally gone? How many people have had a time in their life where everything was shook up and you didn't know the way forward? And it was difficult, right? I don't want to romanticize that, but those are periods that we also grow, right? How many people here got to hear Holly Near when she sang at the end of November at UUCT? A couple, right? Okay, so I can tell her. She was great at telling stories. A friend of mine yesterday said, she sounded ad-libbed, but you know she's told them 100 times. And she shared 2 stories of being on uncharted ground, her world turned upside down, trying to figure a way forward. The first was after the assassination of Harvey Milk and Mayor Moscone. And she's heading off to a gathering. This is in the 1970s. She was worried that people would get too angry and become violent and burn things, but she didn't want to give up anger because it's a good fuel. And on her way, she thought of the hymn that's in our hymnal, "We're gentle, angry people," for that night. But she was in the dark as she drove, or she was in a fog as she drove there, right? There's another lovely story she tells about leaving California and living in Massachusetts for a year. She said, I wanted 4 seasons. It was my Vivaldi year. And summer was beautiful, and foliage in fall was lush. And then came winter. She's walking by herself, and she slips on the ice. Her shoulder bag goes flying. She's broken and dislocated parts of her arm and shoulder, and she's lying there yelling, help, help. But no one can hear her. She's all alone in the dark woods. So she moves, she says she lay there and couldn't move and made peace with the fact that this might be her end. She wasn't really scared of dying. She was okay. And she put her arm, the good arm, in a pocket to stay warm and found her cell phone. She said, it's never there. But we've had those moments in our lives, right, where everything's turned upside down. We have to understand who we are. Sometimes they're longer periods. Sometimes they're whole decades. Sometimes they're as short as, maybe this is my end, but it doesn't actually happen then. It's important for us to embrace what we don't know and to embrace the unknown and to move through those periods. St. John, who helped Mother Teresa develop more simple Carmelite monasteries, was in prison for 17 months, and he wrote Dark Night of the Soul. We use that to mean a time of uncertainty and that's hard on us, but he actually found it beautiful. He found it beautiful to not know who his God was, to strip away more and more and have less knowledge about what the divine is. And there are whole religions that do this, obviously the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church. But Muhammad goes to a cave to start dictating the Quran. All over the Buddhist world, you can go meditate alone in the unknown in caves. It's a place to go to understand that we can't name exactly what is holy. I think as Unitarian Universalists, we're really good at that kind of fog. Most of us don't even care if there is a supernatural being out there, right? But when we talk about the sacred or the holy, we try to use big, broad, rich terms that don't pin anything down. Many, many faiths don't do that, though. They want what Taylor calls full solar theology. They suffer from solar affective disorder. They want everything to be light. So if you go to church at one of these places, they're very positive and very faith-filled, and they know exactly what their God looks like. And if you have a crisis, they'll accompany you at first, but then they get annoyed when you keep showing up unsure of things and in pain, and you just don't have enough faith. There is a type of darkness inside us. It is good, but we project, as Taylor says, everything we don't want to face into the dark side of the equation. And we just want to live in the light, the settled, the sure, the beautiful. We don't want to have to face what seems dark in us. There is a psychoanalyst who wrote a book called Dark Emotions. Her name is Miriam Greenspan. She's a psychotherapist. And her first child died after 2 months in the hospital and never coming home. And people would walk with her and be patient with her. But eventually they implied that the diagnostic manual said she'd been grieving too long. And she wondered, well, how long do you grieve that kind of grief? Her mother had been a Holocaust survivor, and the first 10 years of Greenspan's life had been actively mourning. How long do you grieve genocide? How do we walk alongside ourselves and other people? Some of us have found meditation is a place where you catch up with those feelings and you just sit in them But actually, they have a lot to teach us. They give us a fuel, a wisdom. They show when things are wrong or new ways to go. They wake us up. They break us out of a kind of ice that is formed around our heart, right? When we sit and face them, they're not so scary. I always think of the movie, The Sixth Sense or A Stir of Echoes. They spend both these movies running away from ghosts that are haunting them. But when they turn around and say, "What do you need? How can I help you?" what's been haunting them becomes small and grateful and tells them what they need and they work through it. Isn't that like our feelings sometimes? If we turn around and face them, we project those things out. We're not likely to want to be on roads we don't understand. We don't like to be up in the air. But Eric Elnes, who's my second slide, talks about the value of unpredictability. Any one of you here, if you're going to a movie after today's service, do you want a movie that has a very clear plot and is totally worked out exactly as you want it to be? Raise your hand. It'd be really boring, right? We want our lives to be like that, right? But they would be boring and maybe not teach us as much. And our partners, Elna says, well, we want our partners to be trustworthy, but we really don't want them to be predictable. Surprise can be fun. One of his friends has been married 24 years to his wife, Mariana, but I've been married to 24 different Marianas, he says, right? We want to be able to trust, but not always predict. So I've been talking about these different types of darkness, of being unaware of what's happening in our own lives, of being scared of what we call dark emotions. What about when we project dark things that we are scared of in ourselves out onto other people who are dark? We have been doing that here for centuries, in this country, in the Western world. My third slide, I don't know if you can, is by the Reverend Dr. Kristen L. Harper wrote a book called The Darkness Divine, A Loving Challenge to My Faith. She has been the minister of the Unitarian Church of Barnstable for 22 years. And it has not always been easy for her, but she has worked through it. You may have noticed some of the songs we sang today were a little bizarre. One of the people who has a blog about music, Reverend Kimberly Debus, says, "You probably shouldn't sing a hymn that ends in a word you have to look up." But I trusted that all of you knew the word seer, right? Many of these are kind of strange hymns, because talking about light and dark is so prescribed. We say winter is bad, we say dark is bad, light is illumination. We do it all the time without thinking. And more than once a year, we need to remind ourselves how difficult that is for people who are not white, who do not have lily white hands. And so Harper talks about how by the 13th century in Europe, the word black started to have more negative connotations. And in the 1400s, it had fully come to mean darkness, meaning evil and sinfulness and moral depravity, as the world decreed, as papal bulls were made that decreed that people who are in these lands we're coming into, who are not Christian, should be enslaved and captured and forced to convert. All of them were people of color. It was handy that you could move as Portuguese slave traders and just take people to the new land, or you could move into these new countries and take over from people because they were dark, they were evil, they were not Christian, they were not lily white. And Harper talks about how it's been a problem in her own life. She was adopted by a white family, and her mother made sure she had read wonderful civil rights leaders and rebellious thinkers and knew that black was beautiful. But family members would shake their head at her and go, "But you're too big. You're going to get high blood pressure. You're going to die young." They picked on her body type and shape. It wasn't the norm. Another thing that happens is when we project scary emotions out on other people, or we see them there, we also don't know how to react. She says that as a woman of color, when I show anger, it suggests I will be violent, I'm not under control, and I'm dangerous. At seminary, she was told by professors, stop haranguing your other students about their inherent racism. You are a pioneer. Shut up and be invisible and fit in and make way for other people. When she arrived in Barnstable and decided to talk about racism in a sermon, people got scared. And she said she did it in a very logical way. She was very calm, but people were scared. And so a group of her committee on ministry went with her to talk to an older member of the congregation. And the woman said, "You yelled at me." "No, I didn't." By the end of the meeting, the woman hugged her and said, "Okay, maybe you just work too much." But after she left, this woman told all her friends, "The minister came to visit me and she attacked me." And her church on ministry could say, "No, she didn't." But it took 10 years to undo that damage. So we project out because of centuries of misunderstanding, and I believe it is time we start to undo the negative ways we speak about dark and light. And I talked about how difficult those hymns were because we have so few examples of ways to do that. Harper, her book, is a series of essays but also poetry to help make those dark things beautiful. And she says, to dismantle our racist language, we need a new theology of darkness, a new way to relate to blackness and darkness and brownness that surrounds us, and to the people whose skin is often reflected in our disempowering language. So she uses poetry to do that. And she does that over and over again. And she ends by, her poem, The Darkness Divine, talks about God residing in the depths of darkness as well in the light of sunbeams. The moon shines brighter, surrounded by night. Life is secure in the black waters of the womb. She talks about both of those. The task for us today is to recognize God in both, to see the divine in the rich brown earth, textured black wood, as well as the white snow and the pale pink jellyfish, to see the sacred in the panther and the swan, to embrace the dignity of the Black Madonna. The task for us today as we gather for worship and as we go out into the world is to look for the multifaceted colors of onyx and to see the miraculous spectrum of color produced in the prism of a diamond. So I encourage all of us not to rush around and crash into things, but to sit where it is safe in actual dark, not to linger in times of deep pain and peril, but welcome what we can learn when everything's tossed up in the air, to sit in the fog, knowing what we don't know, trying to understand our lives, and realizing that if we turn on our high beams, what happens in the fog, right? But it's in the dark, in the middle of fog, that we start to see things and come alive. May it be so. Thank you.
I know there's a song, but I want to say something. See, I follow the script again. The person who was supposed to facilitate today was not able to do it, and so I volunteered to come and be a part of this today. I had no idea what it was really going to be about. And I want to thank you because I personally am very, very, very affected by what you said today. And I'm hoping that everyone will have listened to those words and understand the things that can happen because you don't understand, because you've been brainwashed into thinking certain ways. It's time to change that rhetoric. It's time to look inside. It's time to open up. It's time to see people as people and not by color or shape or any other thing that we have decided to judge people by. It was a very informative, very wonderful thing, and I appreciate being your twin today. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you, Reverend Tina. What say let's stand and sing another bizarre song? This is number 328, I Sought the Wood in Summer. It's from a beautiful Willa Cather poem when it's about finding the beauty in things light or dark, the wood in summer, the wood in winter, and all those wonderful things in between, and finding the beauty in every place and situation.
I sought the wood in summer when everything was green. The woodless boughs were tender and buds were thick between. White-fingered aspens trembled in fitful sun and shade, and daffodils were golden in every starry glade. How frail a thing is beauty, I said with every breath. She gives the fragrant summer, but swifter was her death. For these the stardust troubles in these the ages old, to deck the wood for bridal and slay her with the gold. I sought the wood in winter when every leaf was dead. Behind the wind-whipped branches, the winter sun was red. The birches white and slender in breathless marble stood. The brook a white immortal slept silent in the wood. How sure a thing is beauty, I cried, no bolt can slay. Nor wave nor shock may spoil her, nor ravish her's dismay. The granite hills are slighter, the sea more like to fail. Behind the rose the planet, the law behind the veil.
Not yet. Almost. This year, our annual theme is Don't Fear the Future. Not because we do not have fears, in these times we certainly do, but because our love for our world is so much greater. We believe that love must direct our actions. Engaging and loving, we transform the future in many ways. We transform the future by partnering with those who bring democracy to life with diversity, equity, and inclusions like the dancing in the streets of Arizona. On December 21st and 22nd, at the Temple of Music and Art, they will present the Nutcracker Ballet, a celebration of inclusive ballet. Breaking away from a traditional ballet stereotypes, the performance redefines the art form, making it accessible and welcoming to all. This inclusive ballet performance is not just a spectacle for the eyes, but a celebration of the human spirit, resilience, and the power of dance to unite communities. It sends a powerful message that the art should be a space where everyone is welcome, celebrated, and given the opportunity to shine. All this month, we will take a collection for Dancing in the Streets, Arizona. As you leave our sanctuary for fellowship and refreshments, you will see a woven basket. Donations for Dancing in the Street can be placed in that basket. Next to the basket, very importantly, is a wooden bowl for your gifts for the ongoing work of our congregation. All of your gifts are gratefully received. We have an announcement. Iris, would you come? It has to do with our OWL program, our whole lives.
Quite too tall for this.
Yeah.
Our Whole Lives, OWL, will begin at MVUU in January 2025. The program offers honest, accurate information about sexuality that changes lives. It dismantles stereotypes and assumptions, builds self-acceptance and self-esteem, fosters healthy relationships, improves decision-making, and has the potential to save lives. For these reasons and more, we are proud to offer OWL a comprehensive lifespan sexuality education curricula. Please contact Ms. Stacy, who's in RE, if you know children who can be registered who are in the 4th and 5th grade or in grades 7 and 9. We can't do the classes without interest. She's also collecting information on if we can do the adult classes. I am a trained facilitator for Adult OWL, and my job won't be so much to teach as to facilitate, mediate exploratory experiences, spark engaging conversations, and create educational, non-judgmental environment in which you have the opportunity to ask the questions you don't normally get to ask and to talk about the things that aren't talked about in polite society. Please express your interest in doing the Adult OWL. There are 3 age ranges that can be offered: the young adult, the middle adult, and the older adult, that span the whole adult range, but we can only offer the classes that we get interest in. So I'm really excited to work with you. Please talk to Stacy.
Thank you. You can see Iris, she'll be around. You can maybe ask her some questions about all of that's going on with that. We transform the future by creating a joyful community. We share openly, like our beloved Sunday potlucks. Next Sunday, we restart our bi-monthly potlucks following our Sunday service. All are welcome to sign up to let us know you are attending and what dish you will bring. You can find the sign-up sheet in the Oasis during fellowship, and check our newsletter for more information. And the winter chill, Chris?
Yeah, it's that time of year. I know a lot of you are leaving straight out of here to go to another concert, to go to another lunch, to go to another special thing. And next week, all this next week, I've got a special dinner coming up on Monday. I have rehearsals Wednesday, Thursday. I have other shows. I have other things going on. I'm conducting the Nutcracker, by the way, so come down. When you come to see the Nutcracker with Dancing in the Streets, come down, say hi to the orchestra, and say hi to the funny guy with a stick. Do you ever wish that this Polar Express train that we're on had a quiet car? That's what winter chill is. The Monday night before Christmas Eve, we'll gather here, we'll sit quietly, bring a book to read, bring some crafts to work on, bring those last few holiday cards that you haven't finished up yet. Just sit quietly and enjoy the company of others. We'll have some snacks. You're welcome to bring snacks, cookies, light finger food to share and enjoy. And we'll have space, we'll have a fire bowl lit outside where you can chat with your friends and talk. But inside, you don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to say anything to anybody. You don't have to clap and cheer for anything. You can just sit quietly together, read, enjoy the beauty of the evening, and relax, and just soak up the winter calm. Monday evening, the 23rd of December, and I believe we said, what did I say? Oh, I didn't. I believe it's 6 o'clock. We'll double check on that and make sure. Monday evening, December 23rd.
And now we have another announcement for Fun Friendship Frolic fundraiser. Check.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Tina. That was really special. And thank you, Linda. And time for our annual fundraiser. You'll notice we don't say Mesquite Madness anymore. And something I wanted to say, I'm actually certified in mental health first aid. One of the lessons they had was they taught us how many terms used in society for being crazy or mad are actually very derogatory towards people who struggle with mental health. And so I'm glad we've changed the name. It's not an auction, so what do we call it now? The daughter of Mesquite Madness. It's not an auction format. What we're looking for are donors who would sponsor, actually sponsors who would have dinners. We've done this before, dinners in the home, or would sponsor services or dog sitting. There's all sorts of ideas for that. And do you have the forms that were handed out? Anybody that needs one? See us afterwards if you need them. But it's pretty self-explanatory. Hello. Who's that guy? And we're still putting the dates and things together, but the ideas are very similar to what we've done in the past, and we're still working with our committee. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and contact Melanie. Is listed here, and we'll have fun, and we'll have friendship, and we'll frolic. That's all. Oh, we have tables outside where you can sign up with donations and things. So please see us afterwards.
And now it's time for us to release the flame. And go ahead.
We release it together.
Yeah. Universal mystery, guide us away from the desire to shine light in all of the corners. Teach us to embrace the night, for without the darkness, we never see the stars.
And one of the things I do occasionally is battle against stereotypes in major key music, minor key music. Major key is happy, minor key is sad. Well, is it? All the interstitial music this morning has been in a minor key. And I've got one more for you.